Sagittarius, Capricorn Moon sign. Welcome to your Gemini new moon reading. This is a new super moon reading in Gemini for 2018. A super moon is easily seen when it is a full moon. It's huge. It's a huge lit moon on the horizon that we see when it's a full moon. However, when it's new, it's the darkest dark, the blackest black void in the sky. It has a very similar energetic pull as the galactic center, the void, the womb of the cosmos. And so we won't see it on the 13th, but we will certainly feel it. And what you are feeling coming into it, Sagittarius, Capricorn, Moon sign people, is a sense of freedom, a sense of opening up to your soul purpose, actually. Your soul sidereal sign is in Sagittarius and Capricorn. Now, Capricorn is your Western, your egocentric earth sign, the emotional state that you have. And so that's what you're feeling. You're feeling this freedom, this openness, maybe a little bit of excitement, a little bit of looking forward to the future. Some of you, it might be apprehension. Sometimes those nerves and emotions can go either way. They can tilt from anxiety, anxiousness to excitement, but there is a feeling of enlivenment, I should say, of resiliency perhaps. Now, your sidereal soul sign, the Vedic, the Jyotish, is in Sagittarius. Now, Sagittarius is where we will find you feeling your intuitive downloads from. And so those intuitive downloads are coming from a real sense of wisdom, a real sense of really trusting, as I like to say, what you know. And so you kind of get that naturally from your sidereal sign. Some of you will actually be Capricorn in your sidereal as well. There's a 24-degree difference. So most of you will be Sagittarius, but some of you, oh my goodness, having a hard time with this, aren't I? Will be Capricorn in both your Western and in your Sagittarius. But the thing about it is Saturn is in Sagittarius and Capricorn at this time. So Sagittarian in the sidereal and Capricorn in the Western. And you have since December, if you can kind of think back for the year, been feeling a lot of kind of restriction emotionally with that, what you know, trusting what you know, kind of maybe second guessing yourself, maybe having some experiences, intuitive experiences that you thought you knew how to read your intuition. You thought you knew this candle does not want to light, y'all. It does not want to light. Maybe I should take it out and do a new one. I think that's what I should do because it doesn't want to light at all. And so if you're feeling that kind of restriction, now might be a time with what's happening in this super new moon phase energetically to look at where you are on this energetic spectrum between anxiety in terms of anxiousness and excitement. Because if you've been doing your internal work with that Saturn in this emotional first house of your collective unconsciousness, where this moon sign is, you probably now are feeling a sense of excitement because you have been following through, even though it's been testing, it's been challenging, it's been upsetting. You are realizing more about yourself than you have before. This is sixth house energy. Okay, so with the collective general readings, we work with Sagittarius, Capricorn as the first house. And so that would make this Gemini sixth house energy for you. Of course, it's Taurus new moon in the sidereal. And so that means that this excitement, this anxiety, perhaps, depending on whether you've been doing the work as excitement, if you're just now tuning in, or if you're just now really getting in touch with your internal world, scaling the emotional depths underneath the surface, you might be a little anxious regarding some conflict and drama with regard to your health, your service to the world, your work-life balance, and particularly how you are seeing yourself in relationship to those things in your life. Because Great Mother Channel speaks to those of us who are going through a dark night of the soul, and specifically to those working seriously and sincerely to heal mama drama trauma. Now, mama drama trauma is a soul contract that we make with our mothers. Our mother made with her mother, and mother and her mother and mother, for the purpose of soul evolution in self-love and spiritual independence. The thing is, we forget that when we incarnate. But what happens is when our soul aligns with a willing ego, we have free will. And this is what this law of ego form and manifestation is about. It's a double yin, single yang card. And so it's emphasizing not just being in a receptive mode as the yin singular symbol is. It's a double yin symbol. It is that deep scaling the depths of the intuitive soul self into why you incarnated that yang symbol, why you came into this earth plane. That is the law of ego form and manifestation. The very manifestation of your form has a purpose. The astrological chart of your life is a snapshot of the composition of your spiritual matter. It's a picture of it. Just imagine someone taking a snapshot of the sky at the very second you were born. That's the astrological chart translated into signs and symbols. And so the symbols that we have for you in the recent past as you enter this Gemini new moon, which is all about that internal communication. It's all about receiving, doubly receiving what it is Great Mother, that still small voice, the Holy Spirit, has to say to us about this soul contract. Because the thing about it is that some of us will have a cosmic calculus to break the cycle, and some of us will not. In other words, we can't expect our mothers to have that. We can't expect our daughters, our sons. When we decide to do it, we decide to do it. And so that's the law of ego form and manifestation. We individually have our own soul purpose, and some of us may be feeling some drama around that at this time as you enter this new moon, while others will be feeling a bit of excitement coming to that awareness. Because as you come to that awareness, there is a definite knowing that you are not alone, that you are definitely aligning with your soul purpose, and you are beginning to release with this third quarter moon energy a lot of the lies, a lot of the misconceptions and shrouded truths that you've had around the experience of MDT. MDT is a planetary disorder. Yes, it is a taboo subject, but because it is a taboo subject, it is a planetary disorder. It's everywhere. It's What we have to do is look at the world that we live in, and every single problem comes back to the mother not being full, not being well, not being at peace. Presently, as a result, you're self-mothering. You're taking care of yourself. You're focusing on me time. You are perhaps licking your wounds. Some of you are just shaking some criticism and judgment off your shoulder, just wiping it off. And others, there is a full-blown rage that you have decided to retreat into your inner space to just self-soothe. And that's called for at this time. There are many transits that are occurring right now that are whipping up very Martian energies that are very competitive. Of course, we have Leo in the North Node that is at its climax in the eclipse season. Of course, the nodes rule the eclipses, and we are currently in Leo Aquarius eclipse season with Leo North Node, Aquarius South Node. And so we have this strong solar energy with the sun ruling Leo with this Martian communication going on, and Mercury now with Gemini, the sun in Gemini, and a lot of talking back and forth, a lot of conflict, a lot of drama. You're retreating. You're retreating. You're realizing that there is something of truth that is worth you taking your time to assess, to value, to consider, and you're doing that for yourself. You're doing that for yourself with intention. So in the shadow, you are facing the challenges that have come up because of this new awareness that you have about perhaps some health problems, or you are a health provider of some kind. You provide maybe health counseling, or you are a Reiki healer or massage therapist or something of that nature, and you are realizing that this self-mothering is very important, because on an unconscious level, again, that soul level, you need it in order to face the anxiety and work through it and process it in a way that will heal you and allow you to speak your truth in ways that serve you, as opposed to create more drama in your life. You have enough. You have enough drama right now, and that's not something that you're wanting to kick up. But in the shadow position tells us that you may not be aware that you are really either being invited to face a challenge as it relates to this drama. In other words, you may not see your current situation as drama. Great Mother's coming through, and she's saying that there is an actual conflict that is occurring between what you know, the restrictions, the limitations that you've been experiencing on this deep level. And just as the sea, we look out into the sea. This card is a third quarter moon card, and the picture is just looking out to sea. We see the surface, but what's really going on is everything that is making the water ebb and flow beneath it. And so beneath the surface, Great Mother is connecting with you through the pull of her lunar cycle to realize there is a conflict, and it's really something that has driven you into your inner space with her so she can share that with you. Presently, you're processing, and this is what she's saying, you're processing the fact that there is a soul purpose beyond MDT for you in your life. But in order to get to it, to fulfill it, either there are aspects of MDT that need to be cleared up, or you have full-blown MDT that you are just now beginning to process that you have, and that needs to be addressed. Now, the definition is a condition in which the mother projects unhealed aspects of herself onto her child, causing emotional and or physical trauma. The emotional trauma is from the abandonment and the abuse, And abandonment can be because a mother has transitioned. And many people who have mothers who have transitioned have MDT and don't realize it. Because there's, again, guilt associated with asserting how you feel, with asserting what's really going on beneath the surface. Some people have MDT for a lifetime, and others just for periods of time throughout their lives. And it looks to me like some of you are kind of, shall we say, people that would not normally associate yourself or your situation with MDT. You know, it would be something that, oh, these are just kind of normal situations between mother-daughter. These are just normal situations that people have with their moms, and I'm not going to claim that as my situation. But we see that there is something underneath the surface that Great Mother is coming through, and she's saying is drama in your life that has caused work-life imbalances to emerge. Now, you want to ask yourself, when you're not sure, is there something health-wise in my life? Is there a work sabotaging situation? Is there a persistent self-loathing situation in my life? In other words, have I been through a journey? And now I'm awakened from this very challenging journey, and I'm realizing what caused me to go through those challenges, and because I don't want to repeat them. That's wisdom. And when you're asking yourself that, whether it be disease, whether it be yet another bad relationship, we have these patterns that we repeat in our lives with this disorder. And you're exhausted, and you want to ask yourself, is the root cause of this because I'm not ready to express how I feel because it will either break up my family, I have a credibility problem, no one's going to believe me, or I'm just codependent. I need this. I need to be in this situation. This requires way too much courage, way too much valor. That's not just something I'm going to do. I'm not going to jeopardize the situation, even though it's killing me, even though it's choking, restricting, limiting my relationships with others, limiting, choking, obstructing my ability to connect with myself, and so my health suffers. Those are the questions you want to ask yourself. Okay, and you want to really process the answer for yourself, because Great Mother is coming through and saying that you are in a situation where you're still expecting to just kind of live in fear. That's normal. And so I'm not going to say anything. And see, this Gemini, super moon, new moon, pulls, full moon releases. So it's pulling from the Gemini sun. The new moon is when the sun and the moon are in the same sign. And so it's pulling this lovemaking between Great Mother, Father, God is within the same sign. And so the yin and the yang is a little imbalanced, but yet it's very much balanced when we work with it. And working with this energy, this yin-yang energy, with a very masculine soul sign of Sagittarius, means that addressing the truth of what you may be fearing at this particular time as it relates to breaking up the family, your credibility issue, no one's going to believe you, and your codependent needs, is going to render new opportunities for you to resolve whatever conflict and drama may be stirring. You're doing a dance right now with centering yourself, body, mind, and spirit. It's a dance. You're kind of going back and forth between the mental space of processing and that guttural space of fear and insecurity. You're working with that. And some of you, while there may be, again, this anxiety, it's exciting. It's an exhilarating type of nervousness because you're processing it, and it's an empowering process for you. And that's what the dance is for you. So it really depends on where you are in your MDT journey. Hidden influences are the wild woman. Now, the wild woman is a Slavic goddess who lives in a shack on chicken legs. It's a very unique, maverick energy, this new moon for you. The hidden, the void, the dark, the unknown, but yet deeper and deeper and deeper, it's love. The source, you're going deeper and deeper into the source of love. The source of love is unconditional, so it sees all. It allows all. And allowing yourself to fully feel what you feel is what's called for here. It's really what is necessary in order to integrate your wild woman, that part of you that's going to break through that dark night of the soul, regardless of the warning signs that your inner saboteur that doesn't want you to ground yourself because you're not worth your family doing their own internal work. Breaking up the family can be the best thing that can happen to a group of people. Again, some MDT is for a lifetime, but some is just for a period of time. Sometimes people need to break away to have time for solace and reflection, in return with a greater appreciation. This throat chakra as a hidden influence would indicate that it is time for you to express how you're truly feeling about this drama that you may not have recognized before this reading. What you are fully expecting is to be supported in this process now that you're becoming aware of it. And you are, dear one, always fully supported. Now, the law of soul guardian and guidance is about accepting that support. So when it comes in unsuspected and unexpected ways and forms, very much as Dorothy was greeted by the three on her journey, these unusual, unique, wild characters, she accepted them. She accepted her help. In other words, your help will come in unexpected and unusual ways. Be open to receiving the assistance of those that you normally, due to your family conditioning, due to your family biases and prejudices, would not have normally expected to be your helpmate on your healing journey. I know that for me, I was certainly raised to be extremely proud of my African ancestry and would not have imagined in a million years that I would have ended up with a self-described redneck. What Great Mother's saying needs to be let go is this sense of codependency. Boundaries are necessary for you. And that makes sense in order for you to communicate what you're truly feeling. There needs to be a sense of what's okay and what's not okay in that communication process. And we have two new moon cards here. And so Great Mother is really emphasizing with this new moon to kind of wild out. Sagittarius, Capricorn Moon people, break out of the shackles of Saturn, so to speak. We have this energy of sixth house that is about to move into seventh house energy. Let me say, it's going to move into, I think, fifth house energy next month. Yeah. Because Capricorn, we're going to have a, next month it'll be a Cancer new moon. And so it's going to be a seventh house with the Cancer new moon. And so you're preparing for this halfway mark in your Lunar New Year. Okay. And so that's what those Lunar New Year videos are about. They kind of mark these emotional phases of your moon sign with a bird's eye view of the year. And this is kind of a build up to that with this sixth house energy. And so establish your boundaries now, Great Mother is saying. And so your new moon wishes might have a lot to do with that. Gemini new moon wishes, of course, have to do with Gemini. But then you modify them so that they articulate what your particular needs are. And sixth house needs with regard to Gemini, talking about conflict at home, if you work at home, your work-life balance, conflicts, perhaps, again, healthcare providers many times do if they're massage therapists and things of that nature. But you may be a doctor. You may be someone who cares for people outside of the home. You may just be a manager of your home. And your everyday life may be kind of out of balance, out of whack with all of these undercurrents that are happening for you, a lot of waves going on. Your new moon wishes with regard to boundaries, what's okay and what's not okay, moving into and stepping into a new realm of your life across a threshold would have to do with asking Great Mother for more positive daily interactions. Okay, using that Gemini energy to calm this mental anxiety. Formulating new moon wishes on that 13th, where the new moon, within 48 hours, by the 15th at the latest. I like the new moon to get going, to ground itself in its sign and make those wishes. And you'll find that your communication skills, as you are expressing what may be wild to you at this time in ways that honor what you need and what you want, will come more easily to and for you to express. Great Mother's advice is to own your beauty in the process. Wow, lots of throat chakra cards. So we have throat chakra here, and we have throat chakra here. And so we'd say these three throat chakra cards are definitely pointing to really facing the challenge, really for you what may be wilding out because you never have tried to ground yourself by really crossing that threshold to what could potentially break up the family. Crossing that threshold into expressing yourself even though there may be a credibility problem, even though you may be codependent. Sagittarius, Capricorn Moon people, the typical issue with the credibility problem may not be your issue. Your issue may just be owning your beauty. Sagittarius, again, tends to already have that sidereal Sagittarius energy, tends to already have a deep sense of intuition. So that might not be what concerns you as much as just trusting it, yourself. It's a different kind of a thing, and therefore yours might be more about codependency, that you really are wanting and needing from your mother or from siblings or from family members who matter to you in this dynamic to hear you. And what Great Mother is saying is hear yourself. Recognize your own power in this situation, to follow your own guidance and support from those who may not be in your typical circle. See, you have Jesus as your center card. And so that's the center focus, is that single yin symbol. Be receptive of people in your immediate environment. They may not look like and who are not your typical supporters, to help you resolve this conflict. Maybe bounce off some of the things that you need and want to say. Because in your immediate future, you're going to be grappling with this drama as it relates to feelings of victimhood and opening the door, crossing the threshold into a new way of being and a new way of thinking has a lot to do with creating your own reality as opposed to just taking what comes. And this is hearkening back to how in the recent past you've come into a realization that you have a life beyond MDT. And as challenging and as anxiety ridden as it may possibly really be for you, that there is more to be excited about in life. This can be a manageably healed situation. And the challenge is, as this new moon progresses and you cross that threshold, asserting the intention. New moon is about establishing intention for the cycle to express yourself in resolving this conflict. That releases this crescent, which is when the seed is planted, of victimhood. This is what Great Mother's coming through, and she's saying about facing this challenge, so that by the first quarter, which is immediately after the crescent moon, you will have planted a seed of actually being able to face the challenge of resolving this conflict. You see how issues are not just dealt with immediately and suddenly. We are given an entire cycle and many cycles to do so. You're awakening to that. You're awakening to really how you need to embody your personal power. And it's not as a weak, incapable, fearful individual. It's really owning the power that you have. In that Sagittarius soul sign. Sagittarius, the moon, the new moon in Taurus in the sidereal is the nakshatra of Rohini, which is all about beauty. And it's pulling from the Taurus sun in the Vedic astrology, the nakshatra of Mrigashira, which is a very joyous, beautiful, and so it's a beautiful lovemaking. If we work with this internal energy, it's a beautiful energy to work with and to receive messages from with the Taurus Gemini new moon. It's beautiful. It's a very reliable, healthy seed to plant. And in joining your intention to actually awaken from the illusions that the present drama is casting, is not only asserting your beauty, but it's opening up new pathways for discovery of how you truly feel now. You feel differently now than you have felt since December. And the anxiety is just a general brushstroke of an emotion. But this lunar cycle, by working with these energies that Great Mother is speaking to you, are very active right now. You're going to peel back the layers and you're going to see the shades and the colors and the dimensions and understand them and yourself more in the process. The possible outcome is self-compassion. As a result, you're going to have so much more understanding, love, and appreciation for yourself in your journey. This is planting that seed, that crescent moon, that heart chakra, a crossroads between the ego and the soul. Understanding that soul contract, really coming to terms with the reality that although your mother may or may not be ready, it's not going to change you. It's not going to change what you came here to do, other than to make you better, to make you stronger, to make you more resilient, as the soul contract intended. In the long-term future, you're going to embrace the shadow of MDT. You're going to work it out with acceptance, and you're going to allow yourself to truly have faith in the seeds that you are planting at this time. This is new ground. This is new ground. And it's a ground that is going to bring up some fruit next month with the Capricorn full moon. You do this intentional work as Great Mother is speaking to you and kind of closing out the energetic books of the past 6 months. And for the past year, for many of you, you're going to see something with that Capricorn full moon. You're going to see something with that Capricorn full moon. Because the long term with embracing the shadow not only is about pulling the curtain to see the truth of the puppeteer. Okay, and so this is, the mother pulling the strings and really understanding where that came from. It's not about you, it's not about her, it's about a family cycle of behavior. And that's the shadow. Great Mother speaks to us in shades and shadows, not, so that we don't understand and only a few people or whatever, but because that's where we come from. That's really who we are. We just crystallize into this physical, dense dimension in order to have a material, physical experience of conflict, of resistance, to refine and purify our spirit. And we release this form and go back into which we came. And we do it again, and we do it again, and we go back, and we evolve, And so that's what you're doing. And you're going to embrace this shadow, and you're going to see it with that unconditional love and compassion. One of the greatest things you're going to have to let go of in this new moon cycle, some of you will do it this new moon, some of you will do it next new moon, that's fine. Because I see a lot of you are still processing, and processing has many phases. There's a beginning of, wow, I just see this, and I didn't know all this was going on. And so let me kind of process this thought. And then there's processing that says, okay, I'm consciously working with this thought in my life. Let me observe how this thought is operating in my life. For example, the thought of you cannot do your greatest dream because it'll never come true. It didn't happen for me. It didn't happen for your grandma. It didn't happen for your grandma's mama. You don't even dream. You're not worth it. You're not even, And that's a thought. Those types of thoughts of self-loathing create and perpetuate MDT. So some people just coming to the realization, it's not about me, it's not about my mom, it's not about my grandma, it's not about any of that. It's this thought that has been controlling my maternal line. And we've been handing it down and suffering as a result. Some people are consciously working with those thoughts in their everyday life, and they begin to see it come up everywhere. Oh, my mate is always telling me that. My kids are always telling me that. People that I work with are always telling me that. How did that happen? We attract to us what we are conditioned to believe about us until we begin to process us. And so some of us are there. Other people have been doing that for a long time and have been doing the processing work with their fear and centering themselves and being that wild woman, expressing and owning their beauty with that conscious thought and releasing those things from their lives, letting them go, creating their lives instead of continuing with victimhood and awakening to their true selves and the true source of self-compassion. So it depends on where you are and how strongly you are able to articulate and, first of all, formulate, of course, what those boundaries are. Okay, some people will start off with the boundary that says, okay, I'm not going to think the thought myself that I should not even aspire to my hopes and dreams because I'll fail. I'm going to stop that. Well, when you stop doing that, and people keep bringing it to you, and you're speaking to them, this is not going to be allowed. I'm not feeling that. I disagree. Well, then that's where the conflict comes. And so that might be, dear one, in the shadow position where you're not seeing where that conflict is. And Great Mother is giving you the tools here and the insights to work with them. And by doing so, you will in the long term embrace that shadow. And embracing the shadow allows us to see the truth for what it is. Isn't that liberating? The last suit of the deck is E at the end of the word aspire. All the suits are based on the acronym for aspire, emancipation. It's very emancipating to get to that point. This card, Inanna, is in the R suit of, Inanna is in the, well, that's sixth chakra, so that's the sixth letter. That's in the emancipation suit. Okay, and so it's very emancipating to embrace the shadow, to allow yourself to feel what you feel and realize that has been felt for many generations. And why? To help us grow in self-love and spiritual independence. Your outcome is Moses. Moses is learning to live the law, as above, so below. So as above, when that soul contract was formulated, and relating it to now, where you are right now, at this time of this Gemini new moon, the reality of it, the candles blowing out, going out, inconvenient, and having to light them back up, and that anxiety and working with it, being in the moment, whatever it is for you, and learning to live with that, knowing that you are connected in your gut, in your body, feeling that. And so that's resolving that inner physical conflict, connecting and feeling your body, what it's saying to you, and knowing and owning that health is your birthright. The health of your own body and of the bodies that you have stewardship over, your children, those that you are caring for as a healthcare provider, dealing with your daily life in a more compassionate way, being realistic about the time allotments that you have, and setting those boundaries in loving and self-compassionate ways so that you can own your beauty and accept the support that comes to you and all the many varied and sundried ways that it does. Thank you so much for watching. Now, remember that these readings are based on the first house. Your actual moon house may be 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, or 12th. So that would vary the reading quite a bit for some of you, which is what the personal readings are for. Check those links below. But for now, here's an extra about the nodal axes, a little bit more about moon sign readings, what to expect from them, and how to understand your north and south nodes. Remember, Great Mother loves you, and I do too. Okay, a word on the nodes is that they are typically viewed as too ethereal to be grounded in the world, too much of a conceptual aspect of the astrological chart to be really practical and practically interpreted as meaningful in your life now, which is why they are associated with the soul and kind of, okay, we can't really understand that. It's bigger than we are. We're not going to go there. And although that is true, the part that we can go to when we're looking at lunar aspects is that in the North Node, or Rahu, we know that that is the evolutionary direction the soul is headed. We know that it is in large part the soul intention for its incarnation this particular lifetime. And knowing that, the sign it's in, the house it's in, and what aspects that house and those planets tell us the nature of the incarnation, what's important to it. Now, bringing that from the ethereal and the conceptual into a grounded interpretation requires us to understand the sentient nature of our physical senses: hearing, seeing, smelling, touching, waking, sleeping state,
the state of health, the state of unhealth, etc. Those subtleties of life is what brings the nodal into the practical sphere. For example, all aspects of our nodes always oppose one another. And we know that if your Rahu is in your fourth house, your north node, then the 10th house is where Ketu or your south node is. Conceptually, we know that that soul is here to ground itself in the physical realm, specifically domestically, in its home, through property that it owns, to ground itself physically in the world. Now, regardless of the other aspects in the chart, because we're talking about the nodal axes, it's going to have a holographic effect on the entire chart as it relates to its incarnational purpose. Everything is ultimately pointing towards that in their own way based on other aspects of the chart. But if you could just imagine the yang symbol, the circle with that arrow to the right, finding its ultimate purpose in this earth realm, steering towards it, pointed towards it, and finally incarnating as the physical form of the cosmic calculus that makes up our entire chart, which is our internal wiring kind of laid out, splashed upon the stars and constellations that we can read and interpret. We will see that the north node and the nodal axes in general give us a look into how to ease the internal stresses of that life incarnated purpose. So regardless of what it is, there will always be stresses associated with it, issues of insecurity, self-esteem, and how we are experiencing that incarnational purpose on an individual basis. So with our example with the North Node in the fourth house dealing with domesticity and the mother, there will be challenges associated with the home and the mother. There will be stresses associated with that because that is the stuff that evolution is made of, that conflict, that yin and that yang purification process that occurs. So just looking at that, we can see that there will be opportunities throughout life to grow and evolve, which can be seen in the chart. To further ground that, we want to look at what your chart is telling you about your health, what your chart is telling you about your career, about your relationships, how you see the world, finances, and spirituality, because it's going to inform the strengths and the challenges associated with that. As we do that, returning back to the subtleties of our waking dreaming state, our clairs, clairvoyance, our clear seeing, our clear feeling and touching, clairsentience, clear audience, those extra sensory abilities. What happens is our unique strengths in those areas are constantly offering us information, tools, and guidance about how to confront, remedy, and transform those challenges and those stresses. So let's say, for example, with the North Node in the fourth house, one of the aspects is to have a sixth house everyday life situation where the sun is there. Or I'm not going to get too deeply into the example because there's so many variations, but let's just say that in your everyday life, you're very focused toward what you want to do. You're very clear about what you want to do, but maybe in your career there's some conflict for one reason or another. That's going to create a challenge, perhaps, in creating the necessary revenue to get the home that you want to feel grounded. That is going to work for you to feel that domestic grounding. And so with the South Node or Leo and K2, there's going to be a tremendous tendency to want to fall back on that default, which is what the South Node is, the soul default, the many lifetimes that the soul has had in that particular energy, which is all about accomplishment, success, in career, and that sort of thing. Wanting to fall back into that, even in light of this lifetime, that being a challenge, there being some corners cut, perhaps, or some illegalities, perhaps, as it relates to acquiring the home that you want, or dealing with maternal issues and that sort of thing. So that's how we can ground it a little bit further and look for opportunities with our dreams, with how we are managing our sleeping life, our circadian rhythms. Are they really supporting us in a way that we feel energized enough to fulfill what we need to fulfill, to acquire what we need to acquire to feel grounded? If we need to be a bit more creative than what the present lifestyle is in acquiring a home, do we need to perhaps be a little bit more intuitive with regard to what may be other opportunities to acquire those things? Maybe there are people that are wanting people to do some house sitting around your area, but you really haven't tuned into that. But there may be some intuitive guidance in that area where you could easily do that. The soul is always downloading intuitive information to us, and it is through our sentient voices, feelings, and unctions that we can connect to exactly what it is that we need to fulfill those things. And so that is what we look at in a moon reading as it relates to the nodes. We look at where those strengths could possibly be for you. Some people have more of an ability to hear. They may have clearer audience based on the fifth chakra prevalence of Mercury energy throughout their chart. That kind of thing is what we're looking at in a moon sign reading. That's the perspective that we are able to gain a clearer view into how to use your sensitivities, how to identify them and work with them to fulfill your practical needs that the soul has in this lifetime, for you to feel the balance and the equilibrium that you need within yourself as you deal with this very challenging issue of mama drama trauma.
For more information about Mama Drama Trauma, visit mamadramatrauma.info.